team, but oftentimes organizations, when it's found out that you've got a monitoring solution, they're going to want access. They're going to want to be able to see, what's going on. So it's better to kind of know beforehand who cares about this information. Not only for giving them access to it so they can see it, but also, who should be getting alerts? If something breaks, who should get a page or an SMS message or an email? You need to know that before you get started. You also need to, once you know what you've got, you need to take a look at monitoring kind of the low-level stuff out there. There's a lot of stuff you can monitor. The low-level stuff I'm talking about is usually system metrics. For instance, you're monitoring a server, a low-level metric that you might monitor is disk usage, CPU, memory. Those are kind of low-level attributes or metrics of systems that you might be interested in knowing about, because you want to know when the CPU is getting tagged or disk space is running out. So you need to know about that stuff. But at the same time, you also want to know, okay, how does that affect the larger business processes or services that people most care about? And what I mean by that is your CEO or manager doesn't care really if server XYZ is running low on disk space. They don't care. They need to maybe they care because they need a budget for it. But ultimately, they only really care if that disk failure causes the e-commerce site to crash and sales to stop, or your critical business processes. So you need to kind of identify, okay, we've got 30 servers and they have we're monitoring 10 different things in each server. How do those servers or those applications, those services fit into kind of the large organization's needs and business requirements? At the end of the day, that's what your organization cares about, whether it's a business, an educational institution, a nonprofit. They more care about, is the website running, can people find what they want, and can people buy stuff from us? And those are usually the things that people care most about. You, as a SIS or network admin, you've got to know about that stuff, but then you also have to know how to fix all the low-level stuff. When something breaks, there are a lot of little components that could be the root cause. And that's why you want to monitor the low-level stuff, like DNS queries, disk space. Is IIS or is Apache running? Is SQL Server or MySQL running? Those are all low-level metrics, but they sit underneath an e-commerce system or a search portal. So you want to know about that kind of stuff, both low and high level. Also, you want to be thinking about how do you want the data presented to both yourself and to end users. You might be okay with a certain view of the network, like a monitoring interface or reports that are available. But your managers or external entities, maybe your clients, if you're monitoring client sites, they might want different information. They might want my SLA reporting. They want to make sure that, hey, we've got a broadband line from Quest. We want to make sure that Quest is honoring their SLA. And so your manager might want to report on their desk at the end of every month that says, they're going to ask of you, I want to report this for uptime. Because they want to know if they're getting what they pay for. So you need to know what kind of data you or others are interested in. That's pretty important. Also, how you're going to implement some kind of remediation procedure, who's going to be responsible for it. Remediation is just kind of a catch-all term for what are you going to do when you get notified there's a problem. Who is going to respond to it? How are you going to communicate, work with each other to solve the problem? How are you going to communicate with other people in the organization that care about the status of the problem? Either you might have a wiki or a public portal page that shows the current status of the network. You might keep comments in, for instance, in Nagios, or acknowledge alerts in Nagios, and that's how you kind of handle some of the problem resolution. So that's important. So I'll go over some high-level things of what Nagios can do. And for those of you using Nagios, you know this stuff already. But for the people that this is new to you, this is kind of a high-level overview of what it can do. Nagios essentially it provides monitoring of network switches, operating systems, different devices on your network, like printers, UPSs, anything that you can basically connect to your network, there's usually a plugin or an add-on for Nagios that can monitor that device or that service. You can also monitor services like your websites, like your e-commerce application. It can run web transaction checks to make sure, hey, yeah, I know Apache's running, I know that somebody can hit our main web page, but I also want to check to make sure that somebody can search for, say, a book in our store, add it to the shopping cart, and actually proceed to the checkout point. So it can run those types of web transactions, those higher level services. It really can monitor a lot of different stuff, and I'll talk about that a little bit later, where you can go to find all the things that allow you to monitor pretty much everything that's out there. It also provides monitoring or alerting and escalation. So when something that you're monitoring fails or it enters a critical state or some state that you don't want it to, it can send you an alert, either via email, SMS alert, a page, instant messaging. There are a lot of different ways you can do it. And if somebody doesn't fix the problem or acknowledge the problem in a certain time frame, you can configure Nagios to escalate those notifications to other people. Maybe a secondary team, maybe IT managers or somebody else. At the end of the day, it's usually a person that has to respond to alerts. And we're all people, things happen, you fall out of cell phone range, your cell phone battery dies, you don't get an alert. So it's always nice to have a backup, for somebody else getting alerts if you're not available. So it can do that. It also has some remediation stuff built into it. You can add comments to hosts or services that are in a problem state, so you can kind of share information between users. You can schedule downtime for hosts or services, so you can say, look, our web server is going to go down between 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. on Friday night. We're going to upgrade the drive. And you can schedule it for downtime. Nagios won't send you an alert then when it detects a problem. And there's also a comment there that other people can see so they know what's going on. There's also some recurring downtime stuff out there that adds the capability of saying, okay, we've got these set of servers or services that always go offline. Like every Saturday or every other Friday, maybe a backup job runs and takes those virtual servers down. You can set up recurring downtime to have that downtime recur at whatever schedule you want. It's got capacity planning via some reports and also some trending graphs. You guys have seen, everybody has RD tool graphs in their monitoring software. Nagios has that too, with some pretty popular add-ons that are available out there. That allows you to see kind of what's going on, spot problems that occur kind of transiently. And these types of graphs are really useful if, for instance, they're disk usage or ping times. You can see, okay, there's a problem on the network, or I'm gradually running out of drive space. I should probably order drives or plan for an upgrade because in 6 months we're going to head towards a critical situation. So that's pretty nice. It also has some capabilities for allowing you to scale it to pretty large installations. Scaling monitoring solutions is not always easy. There are a lot of challenges, not only in the software that you choose and how the software is designed, but also in the sheer volume of hosts or services that you need to configure. And I've talked to a lot of people over the years that have pretty large installations or complex installations, and there are a dozen ways or more that people have solved different issues, and no single solution fits everyone. But Nagios does have a number of different ways in which you can configure it to kind of grow as your monitoring needs do. A lot of people ask me what's a large installation that I've seen for Nagios, and I think it was about 100,000 out of Yahoo. So Yahoo, we went out there a couple years ago, and they used Nagios Core for an internal product called Wymon, and they monitor a lot of their web assets, their URLs, that they're pretty concerned about getting SLA reports on, because they sell advertising and they want to make sure their advertisers are getting their money's worth. So they had a pretty large installation. I think that was about 100,000 hosts that they were monitoring. And they did some stuff, differently than most people do, but they're a very different type of organization. They've got a lot of capabilities and some very